Episode 237. Your daughter is as miserable as a beggar. Darling, let's go back home. Serena snuffled. I regret it. If I knew something like this would happen, I wouldn't have come here in the first place. I was driven out and then I almost died. Yes, let's go back. Jake gently stroked her hair and said softly, Don't be afraid. Nothing will happen again. Suddenly, his cell phone rang. It was Drake. Hello? It is not that guy. The guy hasn't returned to America yet, and none of your enemies are in the capital. Just to be sure, I have all screened their call records. All clear. Also, wasn't it a random decision that you went to Houston? Only the family knew, right? Even those people have 3 heads and 6 arms. They can't reach that far. Can you recall who would have the motive other than those names you just gave me? The phone was placed between Jake and Serena. She also heard this clearly. She frowned and pondered for a long while before she said a name. Lila Cox. Lila is not discharged from the Austin First Hospital yet, and she does not have any communication tools. Laurel is caring for her, and no other person is in contact with her. She can't have a second Stephen Wrong to assist her, right? Drake said. Jake's eyes flashed as he looked at Charlie in front of him. He couldn't hear the content of their call, but seeing Jake's eyes, he felt some ominous premonitions. Check Stephen's current location, call history, where he's been the last 2 days, and report it to me. Okay. When hearing Stephen's name, Charlie looked a bit solemn. He said, Stephen Wrong is my nephew. I know. Jake responded quietly. Now, I am mainly skeptical about the motives of your family. First, Stephen did everything possible and went against us. Now we come here. Almost no one knows that but you. But still something like this happened. Even you won't believe that it's an accident, right, Major General? I have no motivation to do this. You know if I wanted to let her die, I wouldn't have saved her in the beginning. Charlie said hurriedly, looking at Jake. She's probably my biological daughter. How can I think about killing her? When Serena heard the words, looked up at him, and immediately looked behind him. Camilla stood there, gazing at her with a complicated look. Charlie, you're overthinking this. She is Travis Green's daughter, and your daughter is called Anna. You named her yourself. Have you forgotten? Camilla said sternly. She's the same age as Anna. He looked back at her. And, do you really think that I don't know? Anna is not related to me by blood. I have always known this. I just didn't say anything to save you face in front of her, Camilla. Camilla suddenly changed her expression and looked coldly at Charlie. Did you do a paternity test? Yes. I did it when Anna was 4 or 5 years old. I also checked your DNA. She has no biological relationship with you either. I knew you were not pregnant, and that you were just lying to me and trying to avoid staying here in Houston. Charlie looked at her, and his eyes gradually reddened. I was in the army at the time. I was convinced by the letters you wrote, but there was always an inkling I had. Now it seems that I have been lied to for more than 20 years. His voice was a bit loud, attracting a policeman's attention. Camilla immediately closed the door and locked it. There were only 4 of them in the room, 2 couples. Charlie looked at Camilla like he was watching a madwoman. He reached out to grab her arm and gazed at her with his bloodshot eyes, asking slowly, 20 years ago, you were really pregnant and gave birth to my daughter, right? But you abandoned her, right? Outside an orphanage? Camilla looked at him with pity and did not speak. This attitude was undoubtedly a testimony to Charlie's conjecture. He became silent and suddenly laughed. And where did Anna come from? Anna's not your daughter. Neither is she my daughter. What about her biological parents? Dead. Camilla's voice was a little husky, with an imperceptible whimper. I found her under a bridge. Her mother was holding Anna when her own body was still bleeding, asking me to save her daughter. I picked her up. However, her mother did not survive. She chuckled and looked at Charlie with pity. Her mother told me that she became pregnant after being forced into a marriage she did not want to do. How miserable is that? Charlie's heart was shredded into pieces. An unspeakable pain exploded. Raising his big hand, he almost slapped her face, but stopped himself. Camilla was caught off guard, and she moved back from him, losing her balance. She fell onto the floor. Her face was pale, and she was a bit dumbstruck looking at Charlie, who had treated her like the apple of his eye for more than 20 years. Serena was shocked and let out a yelp. Looking at the hatred in Charlie's eyes, Camilla suddenly laughed loudly. You wanna hit me? Charlie, you actually hit me? You cannot stand it, can you? You want to find out about your daughter? Let me tell you this. I treated her like a beggar. One time I went out to buy bread for the house, and on the way dropped her one too. She crawled up to me and ate it like a homeless girl. Oh, I really laughed at the time. I should have taken pictures to let you see that the daughter of Charlie Wrong was more miserable than a beggar. While you were feeding some girl that came out of nowhere and treated her like a princess. You... Before Camilla could finish, she was unable to pronounce another syllable. Charlie grabbed her neck with a big hand. Her face was completely flushed, and her eyes were moist. But he had no pity. He wanted to kill her. Jake was shocked and immediately went to pull him away. But Charlie was already irrational at the moment, and his strength was incredible. Camilla's face became blue. She was pinching his hands and kicking her legs. No, don't! Serena shouted and immediately opened the door. Help! Officers! Where are you? There were 2 policemen stationed outside. They immediately ran into the room. Seeing what was happening, they pulled Charlie away together with Jake's help. Camilla crawled onto the side, gasping for air. Charlie was pulled away, red-eyed and screaming, trying to throw himself at her again. He yelled hysterically. Camilla, what do I owe you? Why must you do this to me? Holding her painful throat, Camilla sneered. Her throat was hoarse but very cold. She said, You deserve it.